Double bar finches are native to Australia. There are two geographically defined subspecies, one with a white rump and one with a black rump. The black rump bird is found in the northwest and the white rump bird on the eastern side of Australia. Look at the face of these finches as they drink from this rock water base. They look just like an owl. Consequently, they are commonly called the owl-faced finch. Double bar finches are what are known as estrildid finches. In other words, they belong to the family Estreldidae, or the grass finches. Estrildid finches eat grass seed, preferring open grass areas where they can find seed or where it is blown onto open ground. Look at this double bar. The bird has pulled down a grass head, eating the seed as it holds the grass head down by its foot. Like all estrildid finches, these birds are group orientated, going in flocks to feed and drink. And here you can find this group of 4 birds on a perch. They are such beautiful little birds and full of character. As they spend a lot of time on the ground, they are always fun to watch. Coming in to drink, they will often come in en masse, and here you can see a small selection waiting to get a drink. Birds have nictitating membranes and very few birds blink with the outer eyelid, but just watch these finches, they do blink. Another interesting thing with the finches is when they drink, they swallow. They're a little bit like pigeons and the doves, using the palate and tongue to get the water down into the gullet. This is in contrast to the greater majority of passerines or perching birds that tend to sip, get the water on the tongue, tip the head backwards, then rely on gravity to get the water to the back of the mouth into the peristaltic gullet. And so the finches will drink continuously, not with just a small dip into the water and then the head back. Throughout this video, many of the clips will be photographed at water points. And the reason for this is that estrildid finches are grass finches, with their heads down looking for seed, so considerable footage will be taken at water points where they are in the open. A shallow depression in a rock after rain is a good site to collect water, and it's shallow, ideal for the finches. And where there's one species of finch, there may be more, for the commonality of finches is that they like grass seed. And here, with the double bar finches, you can see little red rumps, and they are the red-browed finch. And they are having a fantastic time in just a simple little small puddle like this. At the same site, another finch, this time a plumhead finch, and as its name suggests, you can see the plum colours. In the early days of Australian colonial settlement, many specimens of birds were sent back to England and ended up in places like the British Museum. In 1827, 2 ornithologists by the names of Viggers and Horsfield followed the Linnaean binomial system, giving names to these Australian birds. The species name for the double bar finch was Bichenovi. Bichenovi after James Bicheno. Bicheno was an Englishman appointed to be the colonial secretary in the island of Tasmania. He arrived in 1843 and worked as the colonial secretary till his death 9 years later. Prior to his arrival in Australia, he had been dedicated to botany and was a member of the Royal Society, so the naming of this little finch after James Bicheno was quite an honour. Paradoxically, the double-barred finch is not found in Tasmania. The name Bicheno is also attached to that beautiful East Coast Tasmanian holiday town. Sexual identity with the double bar finch I find extremely difficult. To me they are isomorphic, yet some breeders tell me that they can tell the different sexes by the thickness of the bars over the chest, the male having thicker bars and maybe more darkness to the forehead. Here for instance there are 4 double bar finches on this twig, There is variation in the intensity and the thickness of the bars, but as I said, I really cannot be conclusive in using this feature as a consistent way to identify the sex of the bird. The main food for finches is dried grass seed. They will eat green grass seed as we saw earlier as they fed off the grass, but dry seed is by far the most common food for these birds. When they eat dry seed, they need amounts of water to help with the digestion. And so these birds are best found at watering points, as we've already seen. Now, as you look at the face of the double-barb finches, you'll find that some of them have a grey, streaky appearance over the face. It can be quite subtle, but this does suggest that the bird is an immature, as for instance this one here on the right. The reason for this streaky appearance is that when young double-barb finches fledge, they have a very dark face, and this gradually turns to the white appearance of the adult. So the streakiness is only found on the immature birds. Up in the northern tablelands, there were these masses of finches coming into these watering points. These double bar finches came in with the red brows. Now just look at the double bars and you'll find that they have a white rump, and this is the typical appearance of these finches in New South Wales. Here now drinking are two double bars, and we're getting close. Oh, they're not drinking. They want to have a bath, and what they do is come in at a shallow point and splash with their wings. Let's look again at these birds drinking. They put their bill in the water and notice the ripples on the water. This implies that the bird is using its mouth parts, mainly the tongue and the palate, to create a swallowing action, negating the head tilt back after drinking of most passerine birds. Pigeons are the typical drinker like this. They swallow, and the finches, including the double bar, look as though they do exactly the same thing. Doing video like this in the wild is always difficult in terms of getting good recording of bird calls. You can hear the musical quality in the timbre of the little double bar finches. It is quite pleasing to the ear. The two most common calls that the double bar finch makes are beeping sounds. One sounds like Mick and the other one like me, a longer drawn out syllable. Researchers who have studied the double bar finch, just like the zebra, tell me that the song is passed down from one generation to the next, and then there are variations that the individual generation make to the main theme of that traditional family song. See if you can pick out the Mick and the me here. The Mick part of the beep is far more prominent than the longer drawn out me. I've seen birds sing by opening their bills, but the double bar finch, if you just look at it, it's more of a throat beeping action than a true bird song that we would expect from an Ocene type species. Going out beyond central New South Wales, we hit the dry country and we get these rather prickly bushes like this acacia growing. This makes the ideal nesting site for finches, for in these shrubby bushes they are protected from the marauding raptors, and in this one shrubby tree there were 5 nests, demonstrating again the closely knit fabric structure of a flock. Fledgling double bar finches mature very quickly, only fed by the adults for a very short period after leaving the nest. And here you can see 2 classic fledgling birds. See how dark they are? Overall the bird is much darker, especially noticeable over the face, and as mentioned, as the bird matures, it will go to a streaky colour before turning to the white of the adult. When it comes to roosting and a time to preen the feathers, you will often find double-bar finches in thorny, shrubby bushes, for here they can get protection from raptors that are constantly after them. Most estrildid finches get on well together, and I have never seen them fighting over food resources. When there is a drought and seed is very difficult to get hold of, a dominant finch within a species may chase off a non-dominant bird. But here with the double bars, we've seen plumhead and red-brow finches, and they all seem to get on harmoniously. Here in Western Queensland, these double-bar finches are at the limit of their geographic distribution, and you can see them having a bath with zebra finches. Now the zebra finch will go into the drier areas. This clip was taken just south of Mount Isa, at the geographic limits of the double-bar finch. The zebra finch can be found further west and into the drier areas, but the double-bar, like the red-brow finch, does not like to go into the real arid zones. Another streaky face of an immature double-bar finch. Now let's move further west, over into the Kimberley. Look at these double bars in the northern parts of Australia. There is something different. They don't have a white rump. Look at that rump. It is black. It is very dark. Up till now we have been looking at the birds in New South Wales and South Queensland, but now in the Kimberley, this bird with the dark rump is a new subspecies. So as a new subspecies, the name of this bird is Tiniopigia bichonovii annulosa. Being a subspecies, it has no variation in the behaviour, and it is only a morphological separation from the rump colour, quite capable of breeding with the nominate subspecies. The interesting thing though is that if the two subspecies are bred together, the white rump is the dominant, so it seems though the black rump is the recessive. Now for those of you who breed double-bar finches, have a look at your birds and see whether they are annulosa or bichonovi. When the Gouldian finches were being exported around the world, they were mostly trapped in the Kimberley, and at the same time the double-bar finch was also trapped and exported. So if you have a black-rumped bird, it is probably from the Kimberley. And if you live overseas and breed generations of black-rump birds, please leave a comment below. And as I said, the black rump is recessive, so the greater majority of birds overseas will be white-rump birds, but I would be very pleased to know if there are pure genetic lines of the black-rump bird out there. Now I haven't said too much about the genus name of this bird. There are two genus names which are synonymous. Tiniopigia, meaning banded tail, which is a good description of the bands on the tail of this bird, and Stysoptera for the rapid moving wings. In Australia, Tiniopigia seems to be the preferred genus name, whereas a lot of European breeders use the genus name Stysoptera, so the terms are synonymous for the same genus of finches. On behalf of the Plumes of Oz, thank you for watching this video on the double-barred finch. If you would like regular notification of our next release of Australian birds in the wild, hit the subscribe button.